So they're on this cloud, actually starts moving away, and they realize it's on a stick, and they're like, wait, hold on, how big are we, and what's going on here? And first off, why was this thing even in a cauldron, and what is all this? So they start running towards a stick, and they just like, what, at this point we have no choice, we have to jump. So they jump off onto this branch. It looks like it was connected to a tree or something. They weren't really sure. They couldn't actually tell much perception because they were so focused on trying to get away from this cauldron with all the smoke and these wicked evil creatures in it. It's like they were summoned or something. So they're running away, and they get as far away down the stick as possible, and they realize there's this hand. It's in the way, and they're looking at it. It's like, okay, we need to get out of here. Like, we don't know what to do. And this thing actually looks at them. It's like this old wrinkled creature, and it looks at them and just starts laughing. And from its laugh, it causes like an earthquake for them. It's this absolutely immense motion, and it causes them to kind of fall. Luckily, they don't fall off the branch, but they do fall over. And, they're just like, you know what? We just have to make a jump for it. Because this creature started moving its other hand and was going in for them. So they both hold hands and jump off. As they jump off, they're falling down. They're realizing we're not falling that quick. Something's weird with the gravity here. But as they're falling, they see below there's this really tall grass. So they actually fall down. They're going down slowly, kind of like how pollen goes in the air. And as they hit the grass, they just kind of slide down it. Like nothing even happened. Like it wasn't even a big deal that they just jumped like, thousands of feet, which was only probably about 4 feet. So, because of their size. And, they get down to the ground and they're looking around. It's like, this is really strange. What's going on here? Everything looks kind of weird. Nothing really feels similar. Everything feels odd. And they realized in the far distance, they could see some of these clowns survive the cauldron that they were getting cooked in. They fell off. So not only did they have to deal with that and the big creatures above them, they have to deal with these clowns again. And unfortunately, that big creature survived. And it's kind of like mingling. It's kind of like it's talking to these zombie clowns. Kind of like compiling a plan to actually get back at these kids. Even though they had nothing to do with this. But so they look at them, and for some reason, they sense that the teenagers are around. Benjamin and Claire at this point are, okay, we need to move. We need to move fast. So they start running the opposite way. And as they're running, it gets darker and darker, and they're like, okay, what's going on here? And they look up, and they can see outside of the actual grass there, they can see these huge trees. They're actually getting close to the woods. So they continue to run. And as they get closer to the woods, they see these massive, like, stems sticking out of the ground. And they actually realize these are mushrooms. They're red-cap mushrooms. And they actually go in, they start digging into it. And they actually kind of make it a little home for right then. And they actually put some of the mushroom on the outside to kind of, like, hide themselves. And you can actually hear the clowns walking past, going, bleh. These zombie clowns just kind of going past, all weird and stuff. It was really strange because it's like they sensed them and they kind of had like, it's like they smelled them, but then as soon as they got near the mushrooms for some reason, they couldn't sense them anymore. It's like these teenagers like got covered by the scent of the mushroom and, didn't have to worry about it. So like it maybe was like some type of like, scent protectant. Like they didn't have to worry about getting smelled out anymore. So they actually go past them. There was at least 50 of these clowns with the big 30-foot, 20-foot one that kind of just went by with the axe because you don't even know how it survived. It must have fell down. It's like these things were cooking these things alive with the teenagers on it. So it's like what is actually behind all this? Who's really the enemy here? So they go past and then they get out of the mushroom. They're looking around. It's pitch black at this point. They can't see anything. And they realize something's glowing off in the distance. And they actually start walking towards it. And as they get closer, they can actually see it's like this glowing yellowish substance kind of sticking out of the ground. So they actually go over to it and pick it up. And they're like, what is this? This is really cool. So they pick it up and they're looking at it. It's like, it's sticky. It's like, it smells like honey. It's really strange. But it glows. So they kind of just cover their hands. And it's like it's emitting enough light like a torch. So they actually end up going walking. End up walking for miles and miles. They hear different noises and different creatures, but they don't see anything. And as they're continually walking, it's getting darker, but the light from their hands is keeping it relatively, decent out there. So, as they're getting closer and closer to the woods now at this point, they hear more and more noises, different things alike, right? So they look up actually and look back and they see the smoke stop from the cauldron. They're like, weird. And they hear this massive roar. But not only do they hear a massive roar, they can also see the sun is coming up finally. So they do have some relief there, but then they're also very startled by this roar. Not to mention they haven't slept in over a day at this point. They're starting to get a little bit delusional and stuff. Maybe start seeing things. Might be some illusions or something coming up. But they continue the walk, and they get to this trunk of this tree. It's huge. It's absolutely insane. This tree is massive. It's like, what are we going to do in this situation? So they actually realize that stuff in their hands is really sticky. They're like, okay, the only way so we can see where we are. So they devise a plan. Claire and Benjamin devise a plan. And they said, the only way we're going to be able to see where we are is if we climb this tree. So they actually take a risk and they start plunging up the tree with this glowing sap. And they actually make it to the top. As treacherous and exhausting as it was and the miles up, for some reason the stuff on their hands and feet, it kind of just worked really well. They didn't have to put a lot of effort in climbing. It's like this gave them some ability or energy for their muscles as they went up this tree. So as they get up to the top and they're looking, they're like, oh no, they get right to the leaves and there's these massive spiders. There's these big black spiders and they're looking at them and they're hungry. They start salivating, these spiders. It's like they wanted to eat these teenagers, but luckily that sap kept them away. It kind of just kept them looking, and every time they tried to get close, they kind of flinched back. Because this sap actually had properties that actually protected ants on the ground from spiders, so it actually prevented them from eating them. Because in this world, anything goes. Anything would go and always will be. So as they're making their way to the top, luckily these spiders stay away. You can hear them hissing and, their clumps, trying to get to these kids. So they get up to the top of the tree, and they're on this leaf way at the top. And the wind blows, and they're just holding on. Luckily they have the sap still, it's very sticky and, resilient to, de-absorbing. So they're looking off, and all they can see for miles and miles is tree line. And they're like, what do we do at this point? How do we get out of here? And they can see far in the distance, there's these giant creatures that are far bigger than these trees. We're talking hundreds of feet tall. So it's kind of has that Jack and the Beanstalk vibe. What's actually going on here? So they're like, well, we have to do something now in this situation. We can't just actually keep it like this. It's like, what can we do? It's like if we can fly out of here, what type of situation can we actually be in? So they actually realized, there's a bird coming. It's not a normal bird, though. It actually had 4 eyes. It was coming right at them, and it had its mouth open. It's like, and it had these really sharp, bloody teeth. And as it comes down, they're like, we're done. This is it. It actually flies right overhead and grabs this creature. It was kind of sitting over in the far right side behind them. They actually didn't even notice. It actually blended in with the tree. It was camouflage. And this sting was huge, and the bird just ripped its neck and just started gushing blood all out of it. And, it just grabs it and eats it whole. This creature, compared to the bird, it was actually quite small, but to the teenagers, it was actually huge. And this bird comes back over and just kind of stares at them, and it can smell the honey on them, and it actually enjoys that scent because that type of bird actually helps the ants build colonies. It's a really weird relationship they have together. So they actually jump on this bird. They're like, you know what? It's letting us get on, and it's letting us kind of control where it's going. Because as soon as they got on, it can sense them on how or where they want to go. it starts flapping its wings and it starts taking off and it goes far in the distance. It's taking them miles away. And you can see these giants and everything, but luckily the giants don't eat birds for prey. They're actually eating other things that kind of come out of this weird looking swamp. It's kind of like this pink and orange swamp. It's like sulfur or something, but you can see it's pulling out these balls of something. We didn't know really what it was, but you can see it. And it smelled horrible. But as they're going and they're flying, things start getting really weird for the teenagers. So Claire and Benjamin start feeling really weird. They're like, what's going on here? As they're flying, they are getting really sleepy. And they kind of just pass out. Next thing you know it, they wake up in their beds at home. And they're like, wait, what just happened? Was that real? Or was it not real? And, Claire wakes up and talks to Benjamin like, was that real? And we just woke up at the same time. There's no way that didn't just happen to us. Like, we saw this. It was actually a thing. So they're also relieved and rest assured at this point that it was just a dream or a very bad nightmare. But, they came to the conclusion that they were able to kind of dream and have this dream together. It was really strange, but it felt so real to them. But it's like, how did they even cognitively connect like that? That's the mystery. And why was there no ending to the story? Why did it just happen to end when there was peace? What was next in the story? Well, you guys might want to know that there is going to be a part 2 to Claire and Benjamin's adventure. Let's just say they watch another scary movie potentially and happen to fall into another one of these nightmares. If you all enjoyed this episode of Claire and Benjamin's adventure, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. And I will be having more Creative Mind series coming up soon. If you guys have any ideas or suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. Again, if you guys enjoyed this one, let me know. I will definitely be looking into doing some more interesting Halloween-esque videos coming up soon. Also, don't forget I am on Spotify. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, share, and subscribe again. And thank you all for watching. Have a great night and a great day. Bye now.